Something happened today in the world of sports that didn't feel like sports at all. It felt bigger, far bigger. It felt like a moment where a superstar stepped out of the stadium lights and walked straight into history, carrying something deeper than a bat or a glove. And the world simply stopped. For a split second, nobody talked about home runs. Nobody mentioned MVPs. Nobody argued about stats. Because this time, Shohei Ohtani wasn't chasing another record, he was building something that could outlast every number he has ever put in a box score. It began with a quiet announcement, the kind you'd expect to disappear into the never-ending noise of sports headlines. But this one didn't. It detonated. Ohtani revealed the creation of his family foundation, a mission not about baseball, but about children's lives, and the animals that share our world. A mission dedicated to creating, as he said, healthier and happier communities. The air around the sports world shifted. This wasn't a donation. This wasn't a weekend charity event. This was a legacy being planted in real time. And it shocked people, not because Ohtani isn't generous. Everyone knows he is. But because nobody expected something this personal, this emotional, this full of warmth from a man who rarely talks about himself at all. For years, fans tried to read Ohtani's heart through his swing. Through his focus. Through the calmness with which he handled pressure, even when the world stacked mountains on his shoulders. But today, the world finally saw something raw, unfiltered, and real. They saw what drives him. They saw the boy he once was, the boy who dreamed in small rooms, who played in cold fields, who imagined a better future not just for himself, but for everyone whose lives touched his own. And that boy grew into a global icon. A two-way legend. A walking miracle in cleats. But today, he grew into something else. A protector. A builder. A giver. And he didn't choose a safe, predictable cause. He didn't choose something trendy or convenient. He chose children, the most vulnerable, the most overlooked, the ones who rarely have a voice loud enough to reach the world he now commands. And he chose animals, the silent companions, the ones who suffer quietly in the corners of society. Some players donate for tax breaks. Some players donate for headlines. But Ohtani didn't donate. He constructed. He created a structure. A foundation that can grow, expand, evolve, and reach places he may never personally see. A foundation that will continue to help long after he takes his final swing. And the timing felt poetic. Right when the world keeps arguing about players' salaries, about the price of contracts, about how much an athlete deserves, Ohtani reminded everyone that the most valuable things in life aren't for sale. Children's safety, animals' protection, community health, human dignity. You could almost feel the shift in global conversation. Reporters who normally chase controversy paused. Fans who normally debate stats suddenly found themselves emotional. And people who never cared for baseball felt something for the man swinging the bat. Because acts like these don't belong to a sport. They belong to humanity. As the details emerged, programs for struggling kids, shelters for animals, education support, health initiatives, community rebuilding, the picture grew clearer. This wasn't a gesture. It was a promise. A promise from a man who has already given everything to his sport, and is now giving even more to the world beyond it. You could almost hear the echoes of kids who will one day say, Shohei saved me. Shohei protected us. Shohei cared. And if that doesn't define greatness, what does? For years, analysts debated who the greatest modern athlete is. They looked at WAR, home runs, ERA, ops, velocity, decisions, MVPs, trophies, contracts. Nobody thought to look at heart. But today, Ohtani flipped the definition upside down. He showed that greatness isn't only measured by numbers carved into record books, it's measured by lives changed, futures repaired, and hope restored. And maybe that's why this moment feels so heavy. So meaningful. So much larger than a headline. Because the world has seen athletes become legends. But very rarely, do legends become guardians. And today, Ohtani became one. The more you think about it, the more you realize something breathtaking. A man who spends his life hitting baseballs into the sky, just found a way to lift people up with him. And that is why this story will be told years from now. Long after the home runs fade. Long after the records are broken. Long after the speed of his fastball becomes an old number on a page. Because acts of kindness don't age. Compassion doesn't expire. Legacy doesn't retire. Children will grow because of this. Animals will live because of this. Communities will heal because of this. And somewhere, far from the bright lights of stadiums, someone will whisper a thank you he will never hear. But if he did, he'd probably smile the same quiet smile he gives after his most enormous accomplishments, because he never does any of this for applause. He does it because it's who he is. And maybe that's the real twist in this story. The world's most unbelievable athlete might also be its most unbelievable human. A man who dominates his sport by day and tries to make the world kinder by night. A man who has built a foundation not beneath his feet, but beneath others. And in the end, when history looks back at Shohei Ohtani, it may not be the towering home runs or the impossible pitching feats that define him. It may be this foundation, this compassion, this moment, the moment when Shohei Ohtani decided that his greatest victory would be measured not in trophies, but in lives touched. And maybe, just maybe, this is the beginning of the most important chapter he will ever write.